Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to work on a jean jacket, but this time around I'm going to take it very slow. I know some of the videos previously have been kind of like fast-paced videos to showcase the process, but this time around we're going to take it kind of slow. I am going to cut in between different steps. This way we can move along in the video and not get caught up too much in the detail, but I want to point the majority of the stuff out. This might be a 1 to 2, possibly even 3 uh, uh, different videos, a series of different videos, because they may be a little bit longer. So if you're interested in kind of sitting down and kind of hanging out and watching the process, learning it a little bit, it's going to be more like a class type of deal, instead of a, like I said, one time lapse of the same project. So hopefully you guys enjoy and learn a little bit about airbrushing and the process. So right now we're going to go ahead and get started on doing the stencil for it. So we're going to go ahead and do that first. And if you guys are new here, my name is Ernie and I customize just about anything from promotional products to one-off gifts like the one we're going to do today. So let's go ahead and get started. So originally the concept was going to be a baby wearing a shirt, and then that shirt being having that portrait of the dad. um, I thought that was going to be kind of small. Once you size out the baby on the shirt, and then it wearing that smaller shirt, and then trying to do a portrait in that shirt, it's going to be too small. So what I suggested was having both faces next to each other, which will allow us to give us more room and have more detail, and it'll be easier for us to paint. So the customer liked that idea, so we went ahead and did that. And instead of just doing the baby, we ended up doing the same child, but when he was a little bit older. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a new canvas, and I'm going to take those two portraits, put it together into a canvas that's roughly the same size as my shirt area. I'm currently using Photoshop, but you can obviously use whatever software you have available. Essentially what I'm trying to do is cut out what I need from each photograph, and then just kind of placing them together. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're just obviously going to use it as a cut stencil, and we are going to save this particular file at the end just so we have the coloring available for us to use as a reference photo. For doing multiple portraits, you want to make sure that your layout or your composition is done right. For example, I want to make sure that their faces are kind of pointed from the outside of the shirt inwards. So I don't want the kid facing outside and then the dad facing outside of the shirt, because it tends to look a little weird. What you want to do is make sure that their focus is in the center of the shirt. So I noticed that the cheeks are kind of facing the same inner section of the shirt, so I want to keep that together. And if you have multiple portraits, obviously you don't want, like, for example, like the top person to be looking up. Instead you want them to look down, and then the person on the bottom, you want them to look up instead of down. So kind of keep that in mind when you're laying out multiple portraits on your design. If you don't have Photoshop, Illustrator, or any type of photo editing software, you can probably do this as well. You can resize the face to the size that you actually want it, print it out, tile it onto regular 8.5 by 11 paper. You obviously print it out, and then what you can do is actually cut the faces out physically and kind of tape them together, and obviously tape, like, the negative space in between the face and stuff like that, and use that as your stencil. So you can do that as well manually. The last thing I do before I print is to reduce the opacity. This way I get half opacity, and it's not I'm not wasting too much ink, and also allows me to draw in any type of reference lines that I need to once I print it out. Okay, at this point I'm pretty satisfied with the layout, the size of the portraits. So I'm gonna go ahead and save it, and then I'm gonna print it out. I'm gonna use a tiling a feature that the printer has. The majority of the printers already have that. So if you hit file print, you'll get the option to tile your photograph, and this only happens when the photograph is larger than your print size. The computer will recognize that and will ask if you want to create multiple pages of that image, so you can kind of tape them together. Now all we gotta do is tape it together, and I used to use regular Scotch tape to put it together, no specific type of tape. And yeah, so this is kind of like a little puzzle before actually cutting this stuff out. The only thing to watch out here is that the static from the tape itself, once you try to hover the tape over the paper, the static will attract the paper and will try to, like, tape it up. So you just got to be careful with that. Try to see if you can push the paper down with your pinkies on both ends before you lay down the tape. Other than that, it's just taping everything up together. So all we got to do is cut out the stencil itself. So I have it here. And essentially, I just need reference lines to know where they sit, where certain items sit, like the eyes, the nostrils, the mouth, just small details. Just a rough idea. This way everything is proportionate and I know where it sits. And then later when we go on and actually shoot the actual jean jacket, then we'll go ahead and take a look at the actual photograph reference, and we'll be able to know where the shadows and highlights are and stuff like that. So right now we're just trying to get a rough outline of where the things are. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna separate the face or head away from the stencil. So for example, I'll go ahead and cut the entire head and possibly the neck away from the shirt and away from the background. So this is what I will be doing, and this is all rough. It doesn't have to be exact. Obviously you want to obviously be as accurate as you can, but these are all just kind of like rough outlines. So I'll go ahead and do this. See, it's almost not exact, but it's pretty decent. So you're always going to have that extra buffer of space when you're obviously airbrushing. Some lines are going to be thicker, some lines are going to be thinner and stuff like that. So so there's that, and we'll go ahead and do the same thing for the dad. And sometimes when you have like a picture like this where it's kind of difficult to see what it actually looks like because it's very blurry, it's an old picture, you really have to use your skills as far as how an eye would look like, or an eyebrow would be shaped the way it would normally grow, and then normally how the shadows will look underneath the nostrils and what lips normally would look like. You have to use your expertise on that particular aspect of it, because you don't have that much data to work from. So we will have to apply more of our skill set to be able to airbrush that and make sure it looks nice and clean. So at this point I'm going to do the same thing. Let's go ahead and cut out the shape here, and right now we're also going to cut out the hair and face once we get the entire head out. So in this case, he has a hand in front, which I will probably keep it separate. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut the face out from here. Sometimes if you can't really find the outline, you may have to draw it yourself just to help you out a little bit. So for example, like I know this comes down here. I'm just looking at the way it's laid out. I can roughly see where the line's going to be. So yes, you can always freehand and free paint your portraits. It just depends on how much work you gotta do. In my case, I have a lot of work, so I tend to take the time to do a stencil just to figure where everything's gonna lay out first. It'll be easier for me, and it'll guarantee that the actual artwork looks the way it's supposed to look at the end. You know, you don't have like weird things like one eye is bigger than the other one, or like you know, the nose didn't come out just as it's supposed to. Now he looks like a different person, stuff like that. So that's why I usually do this stenciling for the majority of my portraits. This way I know and guarantee that they all look the way they're supposed to look. And obviously the shadowing and the highlights is a must, but this is important as well. So I went ahead and did that. So for this extra stuff, I usually just cut out like the outline of it, and that'll tell me where things are gonna fall in. So like for example, like I'll go ahead and cut this. Like that. I just created myself a little line so I know that's gonna go there. And then, you know, I'm gonna have another line right here. And obviously you don't have to go all the way to the top. You'll know that this line's gonna kind of shoot up. So you'll have that. Also when you're working, well, for my particular printer, the ink or the toner kind of comes off from the paper. So you have to keep that in mind when you're working on a white shirt. Make sure you wash your hands before you start painting. Otherwise, if you're touching the t-shirt, you might stain it with that toner. So just keep that in mind. I used to have a color laser printer, but it's too expensive to maintain and, you know, buy the toner for it. There's 4 different toners on that one, and each one was $80. So you do the math. You know, it's a little pricey, and to be honest with you, I used it here and there, but it's not necessarily required for you to be able to do this. You can use your inkjet printer. It could be a black and white, and you can do it that way as well. I'm just kind of roughly putting in some lines in here. Like again, I said they don't have to be perfect because these are just guides. Eventually you're gonna paint over this, and you're gonna get exactly what you need, you know. So let's go ahead and do this. Do the hand. This is a hand, so hands are very tricky. So I try to cut what I see, and then I'll go ahead and refine everything once I'm actually painting. So just for example, things like where to know, when to know. I want to know like when this dips down like that, so that's what I'm going to go ahead and cut. I know from here to here it's going to be straight into the face. From here to here it's going to be straight into the other face, so I just need to know where this little angle is. So just things like that to keep in mind. His shirt, there's not that much detail in it, so I'm not even gonna cut that. Maybe I'll go ahead and cut, like for example, where his shirt kind of starts, so I know where that starts, and that's pretty much it. Go ahead and then. All right, so that's kind of it for like the main background, and we'll go ahead and put this aside. Now we're gonna go ahead and work on the faces. And for this example, I'm gonna go ahead and just use his face as an example, because this one's kind of difficult to see. What I'm gonna be doing for his face is actually using the pen again and trying to draw certain areas that need to be, you know, obviously detailed. So I know exactly where to cut, and I'll go ahead and use, you know, the sun's features if I can, and try to duplicate them here. Obviously it's the dad, so you know, maybe the eye color, the nose maybe, and then a little bit of the lips. All right, so I went ahead and drew out kind of like the lines that I wanted on here. I don't know if you guys can see that a little bit. Maybe a little bit hard to see. Now I know where to cut. So just going back to this one, I usually start off with the eyes, and what I want to get is the top black portion of the eye, a little bit of the side, a little bit of the side, and then the center pupil, and then I want to cut this top line right here. So let's go ahead and do that. There. That'll give us that. You can see that. And then I'll continue doing all the darker areas that I want to pursue. So in here, I'm going to here and just do one line. And same thing for the eyebrow. I have to take a look at the reference photograph, but normally the eyebrow kind of starts in the center of the eye here, kind of does this loop around, and then it'll stop at the same spot, but then sometimes it'll have like a little drop like that. So I'll have to look at the reference photo, but for now this is what I'll see, and I'll go ahead and leave that. The hair, you can simply just keep it easy for yourself and just completely cut it off. Let's take a look. Let's see there, here. And that's what we'll do. So I pulled my finger, and it's a little crooked right now. So I've been wearing this little cast when I'm sleeping, and that's why my finger looks kind of weird. But luckily it didn't break or anything, but sometimes it's difficult to work on anything, especially I was doing mechanic work the other day, and you know, the metal's like obviously, you know, hard, and every time I touched it or hit it, kind of hurt. But and then grabbing things while doing the mechanics was very difficult as well. So just take care of yourself, guys. don't think you can your body can take it, because sometimes it doesn't. So, and the funny part, I was just taking off my shoes. That's when you know you're getting old, when you break your finger when you're taking off your shoe. All right, so I'm just trying to get the lines that I want in here, just very roughly. Sometimes you don't have to be very specific. You can just kind of like do a line, and then that might be enough, because when you're blowing the paint and the airbrush with the pressure of the air, it'll make an opening, and some of the paint will fly in and create that line for you. So sometimes you don't have to do it if you're in a rush, and but you just have to really, you know, spray a lot of paint in there so it does that effect for you. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll go ahead and do the bottom of the the holes of the nostrils. And I'm next to a street, guys, so you'll hear some noise in the background, people walking by and talking and stuff like that. So just disregard that. So I'll go ahead and do that. A little bit of that, and a little bit of the side. So if you guys have any questions, please go ahead and leave them in the comments below. I have another video of requesting questions. I want to make this channel valuable for you guys, and I want to share as much as I can with you guys. And if it does help you out, if you can do me a favor and just, you know, subscribe and comment and like and stuff like that, really helps me out. And eventually I want to get the channel monetized, so that'll be kind of nice for me to be able to showcase more projects and stuff like that if I'm getting the support from you guys. So let's go ahead and finish the other eye. So we're gonna do the same thing. We'll do the top portion. And as far as the stenciling, I mean, it is what it is. You know, if you can see a line, then go ahead and cut it. If you think something's gonna help you out as far as reference, go ahead and do that as well. You'll learn as you continue doing it more and more. So in this case, like, I'll go ahead and actually cut the inside of the mouth, but then outline the lips. So let's go ahead and do that. It also helps to have a brand new blade, and this way you can cut a little bit quicker and smoother. Otherwise, it's going to be a little bit difficult for you to get some of these details in here. So I think I am going to make it into multiple parts, multiple videos. This way it's a little bit easier on you guys. For this, I'll try to this one's just going to be very thin line, almost nothing there. I want to know where this is. I want to know where this is. That's pretty much it, really. I'm just missing that top line here on top of the eye, which is where the majority, everybody has this little line up here. So and that's it. That's it. So I'll go ahead and finish up the dad, and I'll see you before we apply the stencil. All Alright guys, we're coming to the end of part 1. The second part is going to involve applying the stencil and continuing on with the project. So hopefully I'll see you on part 2.